The bar was loud that night, the kind of place where cigarette smoke curled against dim lights, laughter mixed with curses, and the clink of glass drowned out softer voices. It was a place of shadows and noise, where tough men wore leather and tattoos like armor, and where the world seemed to forget about the fragile souls who worked behind the counter. Among them was Emily, a quiet waitress who carried herself with humility and a grace that no one seemed to notice. She wasn't the type to draw attention, dressed simply in jeans and a white buttoned shirt, her hair tied back, her steps quick and efficient. Yet beneath her calm face and tired smile, there was a storm she carried in silence, one she had never spoken of, one that few could ever imagine. That night, when a group of bikers rolled into the bar, the atmosphere shifted. They laughed too loud, shoved too hard, and demanded attention like predators circling weaker prey. Emily tried to avoid their eyes, keeping to her work, but fate has a way of cornering the quiet ones. One of them, tall and broad, with tattoos crawling across his arms and a cruel smirk etched into his face, grew restless. He taunted her, insulted her, tried to shake her composure. And when she refused to flinch, his pride boiled over. In front of the entire bar, he grabbed her shirt and ripped it open with a sneer. Gasps filled the room, laughter followed, but then, something happened. What the crowd expected to see was weakness, shame, and vulnerability. What they saw instead froze them in their seats. Etched across her chest, bold and unshaken, was a tattoo of the United States Marine Corps emblem. It wasn't just ink. It was a story of sacrifice, of battles fought, of courage that ran deeper than scars. The room went silent. Even the biker who had ripped her shirt faltered, his hand trembling, his cruel grin fading. For in that moment, they all realized Emily wasn't just a waitress. She was a Marine. If you believe in kindness, in hidden strength, and in second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps keep these powerful stories alive. Emily stood there, her breath steady, her eyes unblinking. The tattoo wasn't something she flaunted, nor something she wished to be noticed for. It was a part of her, a memory burned into her skin for reasons far greater than pride. She had enlisted when she was young, driven not by glory but by a desperate need to escape the cycle of poverty and despair she had been born into. Her life had been a series of battles long before the military, but the Marines had forged her spirit in fire. She had seen things most of the men in that bar could never comprehend, friends lost in combat, nights filled with fear, days where survival was the only prayer. When she returned home, she carried the weight of it all quietly, working small jobs, blending into society, hoping no one would ever ask about the tattoo that held more pain than pride. But that night, in that bar, the truth was laid bare for all to see. And as silence spread across the room, the weight of her hidden life pressed against every man watching. The biker who tore her shirt stepped back, shaken, his false bravado crumbling under the weight of her unspoken story. He had expected humiliation, but what he uncovered was honor, and he knew instantly he wasn't worthy to stand in her shadow. The crowd of men behind him shifted uncomfortably, some lowering their eyes, others fidgeting as if ashamed for having laughed. The truth had cut through the noise, silencing even the bravest drunk. But Emily didn't gloat. She didn't speak. She simply straightened her torn shirt, eyes forward, and went back to her work as if nothing had happened. That quiet dignity was louder than any words she could have said. It was then that the regulars in the bar began to see her differently. To them, she was no longer just the quiet woman who poured drinks and cleared tables. She was a warrior who carried scars deeper than leather and chains, a fighter who deserved respect, not pity. As the days passed after that night, whispers of the story spread through the town. People began to notice Emily in ways they never had before. Customers who once ignored her now greeted her with gratitude. Strangers thanked her for her service, though she never asked for it. And slowly, those who once looked down on her realized they had been blind to the strength she carried all along. What no one knew, however, was the private battle Emily was still fighting. Her military past had left her with wounds no one could see, nights of restless sleep, memories that clawed at her peace, and a loneliness that settled deep in her bones. The bar job was more than just a paycheck, it was her way of staying busy, of keeping her mind from wandering into darker places. Yet even in her quiet suffering, she found ways to show kindness, covering shifts for younger workers, listening to the troubles of patrons who had no one else, slipping extra food to the hungry drifter who sometimes came by. Her own pain never stopped her from easing the pain of others. The biker never returned to that bar. Perhaps shame kept him away, or perhaps fear. but those who had witnessed the moment never forgot it. In that single act, Emily had reminded them all that true strength isn't loud or violent, it's quiet, steady, and unyielding. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be proven, only revealed. Years later, when the bar closed down and stories of that night faded into rumor, Emily's name still carried weight. To some, she was the waitress with the marine tattoo. To others, she was the woman who taught them to respect what they couldn't see. But to those who really knew her, she was a reminder that every person we overlook carries a story, and some of those stories hold the power to change us. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your engagement keeps these powerful lessons alive. Special request, before you leave, drop a comment below, tell us what part of Emily's story moved you the most. Your words might inspire someone else today. Sometimes, the strongest people are not the ones who shout the loudest or strike the hardest, but the ones who carry their battles in silence and still choose to stand tall. Emily's story reminds us that behind every quiet face is a history we may never fully understand. The world is quick to judge, quick to laugh, and quick to dismiss those who appear ordinary. But in reality, many of the most extraordinary souls walk among us unnoticed, wearing their strength not as a weapon but as a shield for others. That night in the bar was more than a moment of confrontation, it was a mirror held up to society. It showed how easily people overlook the courage of those who serve, how often we forget the sacrifices carried silently by men and women who have worn a uniform. Emily did not need applause, she did not seek validation, and she certainly did not wish for recognition. All she ever wanted was to live quietly, to do her work, and to find a little peace in a noisy world. Yet when pushed into the spotlight, she revealed the kind of strength that could silence cruelty, awaken respect, and remind everyone that dignity can never be torn away. Her story is not just about one night in a bar. It is about the hidden heroes who surround us every day. The single parents working double shifts, the veterans carrying invisible scars, the ordinary people who fight silent battles with extraordinary courage. They may never ask for acknowledgement, but they deserve it all the same. So the next time you meet someone who seems quiet, tired, or ordinary, remember Emily. Remember that beneath the surface, there may be a story of strength that could move the whole world.